as we know, John Perkins came out with Confessions of an Economic Hitman, and that was a huge bestseller. A lot of people are talking now about the inner workings of the agencies, and it may or may not be accurate or not. We just don't know. But it's fascinating stuff to read, and as I started to read it, I started learning about assassination squads and official like Patrice Lumumba and Allende, and we've killed. I shouldn't say we, but the agencies have been involved in assassinations, and the way they do it is plausible deniability. So they basically they don't kill them. Everyone who works for the CIA is a contract agent. They're a private contractor, basically, that gets the contract and does it, and then that allows the agency to say, oh, well, he was acting independently. Of course, he's an agent. We gave him an ID and a cover and everything, but he was never told to kill him. We will never know that because they don't keep records like we would assume they do.
See, my understanding is how that kind of shadowy world works is that more often than not, these aren't really glamorous, crazy assassinations from 14 million yards away, and most of the time, it just looks like an accident.
Right. The specialization of the CIA in the 1970s, it was declassified a heart attack gun, which is a huge article on my website. It's the CIA heart attack gun. Barry Goldwater's seen holding it up and everything. It's a famous clip.
What's a heart attack gun?
So the heart attack gun was basically this famous toxicologist was hired by the CIA to come up with a poison that can't be detected in autopsies. And they found various poisons that can do that. One of them was called black leaf number 40. The only problem was they were trying to figure out a way to get this into a weaponized form, and the best that they could come up with was a canister that keeps it frozen like a tiny icicle, almost like a dart. And this gun, which can be fired at close range, usually right next to the skin, fires the poison right into the skin. It leaves a small red kind of dot, almost undetectable. It would look like, an autopsy wouldn't think anything of it, and it would basically dissolve in the body and be undetectable. Causes a heart attack within 45 minutes. So the CIA declassified this in the 70s, and everyone looked around and goes, wait a second. This means that the CIA was actively looking for ways to kill people without detection. They were interested in that. So then it brings into this whole question, well, what else did you guys look into? Well, as I started reading books and doing the research and hearing about what people's cases were, everything from car crashes, plane crashes, suicides, fast-acting cancers, these were all explored by the agency, and I think even employed. These are things that agency was involved in, and it's a way for the agency to be undetected in their assassinations, because like we said, it's supposed to be covert operations.
Right.
So they don't want people to know. There can't be anything connecting the agency to the operation. So they're not looking for simple assassinations. They're looking for ways not to be caught.
It's not necessarily some long-distance sniper shot doing this stuff. It's all sorts of uncanny and really not suspicious kind of ways to kill people.
Right. And they found tons of them, and I think they've employed these assassination methods on all kinds of figures, not just politicians, but just dissident journalists, people who uncover classified intel who are not clear to know who may be a threat to national security, or at least they foresee that. I mean, this is all extra governmental stuff. This puts into question our whole process of law, and not only are we detaining people without charges, there's no jury convicting people of a death penalty now. They're deciding who dies. I mean, I started getting this understanding in politics. People say, well, we need to start electing people. Well, first of all, I'll show you people they've killed in politics that have tried to make real change. It really puts into question, at what point are we not a representative government anymore? What have we become? I mean, this is no longer.
Well, I think we probably haven't been a representative government for some time now. I would say at least 100 years, but probably a little longer than that.
Right.
At least how I would determine not a representative government. Again, I believe the government serves as nothing more than a transfer mechanism of wealth and equity and property from individuals, taxpayers primarily, to politically connected people, generally unions and corporations. Mm-hmm. So in this inconvenient deaths, who would be some of these, or convenient deaths, this project that you're working on, this new documentary, what would be some of the people that you cover in this? Who would be a convenient death? One of
the biggest ones that happened just back in 2006 that a lot of Americans don't talk about, it's huge in foreign press, for example, would be Alexander Litvinenko. He was the Russian dissident journalist who was poisoned by polonium-210 in England. Now, this was a huge story in 2006.
I do remember that.
And most Americans kind of don't understand the real importance of why he was killed. First of all, polonium-210 is a very rare. It's one of those. Basically, let's put it this way: it's only found in a few places of high super security places on the Earth. So this was almost like a calling card. They wanted people to know
who did it,
but they wanted it not to be proven. They didn't want you to go to court with somebody. But why would they do something like that? Well, when you explore Alexander Litvinenko and explore why he was killed, he was one of the top men in the FSB in Russia, which is their intelligence agency.
KGB,
former KGB, now FSB. He was one of the top men, and he wrote a book called Blowing Up Russia, among many other books, and he accused Vladimir Putin, first of all, of being a CIA agent. He said this man was not, he was a double agent, he's always been working with the West, and that he helped, that's one of the reasons why the West loves him so much, is because he secretly is one of their old assets, even though he was with the KGB. The second thing he said is that Vladimir Putin, along with others, assassinated Boris Berezovsky and some other people, and that they faked and even conducted terrorism, the Russian apartment bombings, which helped get him elected, false flagging. He said, you guys faked this so that you can get elected as seen as cleaning up all these rebels, and you were secretly behind it the whole time. So he was talking about false flag terrorism here. And I was like, wow, he accused him of that. Now, he feared for his life. He fled the country, went to England, where he had exile, and he wrote a few more books, and it's just fascinating dissident citizen. And Russia felt he was such a threat to their national security that Andrei Lugovoy, who English prosecutors and investigators believe was the assassin, who met with Alexander Litvinenko 3 different times. Now, Andrei Lugovoy is a politician in Russia, so he met with Alexander Litvinenko to try to bring him back to Russia. Now, all 3 times he met with them, these are different locations, the polonium-210 traces were found. It's the only common thread they have where polonium-210 was found. So they kind of place it either with him or somebody around him or near him, or maybe if you ever read intelligence books, the art of counterintelligence is to have somebody do something without them knowing it. So Andrei Lugovoy might not even be an assassin. They might have put it on his clothes or something. So the art of counterintelligence is to get people to do things without them realizing they're involved in something. It's blackmail, bribery, things like that. It's the real art of counterintelligence. Mm-hmm. So Russia refuses to send Andrei Lugovoy for charges, and he's still free. Alexander Litvinenko dies, and in his books he exposes all these assassinations that the Russian government has been doing to dissident journalists, including Politkovskaya, the female journalist who was exposing as well false flag terrorism. She was shot multiple times, fell down an elevator shaft in Russia, and they said it was a suicide. You know, as I'm reading this book, I started learning about all these fascinating things. And I realized this is not the first time I've heard of assassinations that are clear assassinations. And everyone asked me, well, why would they poison with polonium-210? He was a dissident, and they wanted people to know, you break your code of keeping secrets,
you open your mouth,
we'll kill you. And that's basically what they did.
And that wasn't a pleasant death either. Radiation poisoning, it's a very, very tough way to go. You would almost rather probably have a bullet in your head than have to suffer through that.
It's right at the point where you can't really charge anyone for sure, but you know it was done. It's like a calling card. Out of all the assassinations, I think that was picked because they want to send a message.
Well, it's highly enriched uranium, essentially. I mean, that's stuff they put in bombs. I mean, it's not. Right. It's not like it's what the Iranians are trying to get, allegedly. So it's definitely not. What other deaths or what other deaths do you actually cover in this DVD?
I've so far documented hundreds of assassinations or potential assassinations. There's really a long list of them. But one of the things I started learning about was a journalist. A lot of journalists in America have been killed. As we know, Daniel Pearl was beheaded in Pakistan, and a lot of people think he was beheaded because he was uncovering Al-Qaeda may have been actively working with the agencies. And he worked for, obviously, the Wall Street Journal, and then they captured him and killed him. And a lot of people, it's split between people who say he was killed because he was trying to expose Al-Qaeda, and the other people say, no, he was killed because he was finding out things that he wasn't supposed to find out. He was crossing that line of clearance for security, and you can't publish things if you're not cleared to know. So, like I said, hundreds of deaths that I've found. It's fascinating. I hope people really see the film or read the book when it comes out.
And after the break, we're going to talk about one of the most famous assassinations ever to have happened in the United States, and that's the assassination of John F. Kennedy. And that's going to talk about one of your other projects that you're working on. Folks, stay tuned. We'll be right back with Jonathan Elinoff.
Truth, Liberty, and Independence, the Rob McNealy Program.
Vinewood, the stars, fast sports cars, the hot nightclubs, success. It doesn't happen overnight. Or does it? If you want to make it as an international film star, you have to start at the bottom. That's where we come in. At Dreammakers, we'll show you the path to success. Our Eastern European acting coaches will give you all the skills you need for auditioning in the entertainment industry.
My name's Philip. I enjoy pretending to be other people. Dreammakers helped me succeed in that goal. After some intense acting lessons, now I perform each day for thousands of people at the Glory Hole theme park.
I came to Dreammakers because I want to dance on Broadway. They taught me how to use my natural talents to succeed. Now I get to dance every night for money. I succeed $1 at a time. I did it. I'm in entertainment.
If you really want it, you know you have to pay top dollar for the best coaching and career advice. We'll help point you on the path to success.
I'm fat, boring, and have no ideas of my own.
Perfect! Why not be a movie producer?
I'm attractive, but I can hardly read, let alone act.
You're gonna have to sleep your way to the top. Starting now. For only $45,000, Dreammakers will have you on your way to success. Call today.
Want Henry Morgan as your lock screen? There's a hack for that. Want to play Wolfenstein 3D for free? There's a hack for that too. Want to tether your iPhone to your computer for free DSL speed internet? There's a hack for that. Want to make a free voice over IP phone call? Want to use your iPhone 3G as a camcorder? Want to make your iPhone fart every time you shake it? There's even a hack for that. The iPhone 3G. There's a hack for that.
Hey guys, do you take your sweater off and still have a sweater on? I'm Zenna, without a doubt the hairiest talk show host in town, and I'm here to tell you about a Comiclitic Laser and Wax Studio, the official hair removal studio for the Zenna Show. It's not 1975. We're not wearing gold chains and boogieing down to the Bee Gees. Get rid of that body hair. Do it safely, inexpensively, and permanently. Enough is enough already. Back hair, neck hair, Brazilians. That's right, I said it, Brazilians. It's all good, man. Log on to mypinkwink.com for the Zenna Show 50% off special. That's 50% off your first treatment at mypinkwink.com.
Welcome back to the Rob McNealy Program.
Folks, bad things happen to good people, and I hope I'm not one of them, and I hope Jonathan's not one of them, especially with all the information that he's been collecting, researching, and publishing. And he's my special guest today, Jonathan Elinoff. He's an award-winning documentary film producer. He's also the editor of NewWorldOrderReport.com, and he's definitely a leader in the truth movement. And in the last couple segments, we were talking about a couple of his DVDs, Mad Divide and Convenient Deaths. But he's working on another project right now, which is really going into some other angles of John F. Kennedy's assassination and his life. And Jonathan, what kind of things are you finding in this Kennedy project? Hasn't all the information about John F. Kennedy that there is and ever will be already been published out there?
A lot of it has not. Most of the information that's widely available is focusing on either forensics or photographs or things like that. The information that's less known, that's in a few books, I think it's like less than 10% of people read. I think it's smaller than that. The few books out there that most of which are self-published have well documented, and they show their sources. Oswald's history at the CIA, for example, his involvement in not only counterintelligence operations, but working with anti-Castro Cubans, the people he was associated with, and why they were killed right before trials. And my film's going to explore a different avenue of information. The primary researcher and a person who I think is really going to play the director on this film is Matt Koch, who's a good friend of mine, and he's by far superior in his knowledge on the topic than me. I've of course collected a wealth of video clips. That's my specialty, is getting rare video documentaries from VHSs and things that were all self-distributed years ago that nobody's seen, with interviews with CIA. I mean, I have an interview with CIA agents and directors admitting all kinds of things that nobody's ever seen from documentaries produced in the 80s that were never mass distributed. There may be 100 copies left on the earth, and they've never been digitized. They're not on the internet. So I've got hundreds of these VHSs I've collected, and it's like a hobby of mine, I guess you would say. So I'm coming to the project with tons of really credible sources, and Matt's coming to the table having read every single book you can think of on the topic, and together we're forming a hell of a project which includes not only information